Hi, I'm Danielle Montenegro. I'm the head women's water polo coach at VMI. This is my fifth season here. Prior to this, I was in SoCal and I played at Roland High School, Chop Water Polo Club, Occidental College, and then kind of bounced around down there, coaching at different age groups and different high schools and clubs, different levels. And probably if I'm going to give any advice to any young coaches out there, it's going to be to bounce around because that's where you learn the most. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about driving and movement on offense. So I think there's a lot that we can cover in that. There's a lot to talk about and a lot of complexity. So I tried to just bring it down to an easy level and just stick to one side in a few different scenarios. And so we'll go from there. But the most important thing to me as a coach is to see somebody move with purpose. A lot of times you can see an athlete who will drive just to drive because coach said to go across the pool, right? And so that doesn't always accomplish what you're looking for. So as a driver, right, recognize what your purpose for movement is. Am I drawing defense? And am I trying to get open? And put purpose into what you're doing. The next thing is, as a coach, as you're teaching these skills, make sure you are communicating what they are trying to accomplish and what role that athlete will play, right? You also want to kind of simplify things or put things into different steps. Maybe you teach skills in the warm-up or that sort of thing. And then as you go, I'll usually kind of start with one athlete driving and one passer. So, there's the only one person to pass to, that driver. And then you just sort of add more athletes and more players and add more complexity rather than starting, with all four athletes in there. So communication is very important. Showing different options, very important. Next thing is to just, again, recognize the different options. So as I said, when you have more players in the pool, there are more options for those passes. So just kind of recognize that. And I think, again, be very clear about this is our first option, this is our second option, and so forth. So again, why do we need to drive and create movement? I think some simple ways to think about this are to be one, to clear a drop, right? There's a drop in center, and I want to get that athlete, that defender, to move. So I'm going to drive it through so that we create an opening to put the ball into center. Next thing is to say maybe, there's two people dropping on center. Now I need to create another option on the other side. So I'm going to post up or center has moved out of the way, right? So now I need to establish a new center. And then the third reason to drive would be to kind of unbalance or rebalance the offense. I say unbalance. That's kind of to create an isolation in center. And then similarly, right, if we're off balance for some reason and we need to get back into good positioning, that's another reason to move. So again, going back to purpose of movement, we always want to create a scoring opportunity, and we always want to move defenders. So it doesn't do anything if you don't cause that defender who's dropping to move, right? So again, be very purposeful with our movements. All right, so going into kind of clearing a drop, I have a video here. It does go pretty fast. I'll try and stop it here. So here, right, we have the situation where we have two people kind of dropping or coming back into the center. So ball is at the 5. We don't really have an opportunity to put the ball into set. So we need movement, right? We need somebody to move in one of these positions to drive and to create an opportunity for something to happen on this side of the pool. So what we end up seeing is this person driving down. Let's go ahead and press play. And again, oh, shoot. Dang it. Go again. So again, those first 2-3 strokes, very hard, and that will create, movement of the defense. So these two will turn around and look. She draws the defenders here, and that creates an opening elsewhere. All right, so as you see, those two defenders drop. We have actually a lot of different openings. We have an opening here. We have an opening here. And so ball moves, and we're able to get a shot off, right? And so again, just working on moving that defense out of the way. Okay, so put out. There we go. Nope. Okay. So clearing a drop, right? Some skills that we can work on in this situation. As a coach, right? What do we want to see? Kind of that stop and go, acceleration into the 3 strokes, and then resetting the legs. So again, in the warm up, we're doing 2 to 2s. I'm going to work on stop and go, right? We have to be able to stop and then pop up to catch and shoot. So again, moving forward, catching and shooting. Maybe we do that now in our passing, right? And so when we are working on clearing drops, make sure that we're talking about you could get a pass at any time, right? During that drive, we could stop and receive the ball at any time and shoot. Make sure we're being aggressive with our movements, again, to draw that defender down. What we don't want to do is kind of stop halfway in our drive, right? Because we're trying to bring those defenders with us. We don't want to stop halfway and then we don't really accomplish what we were trying to do, which was clear that that drop out. The other thing that is my own personal pet peeve is when somebody is clearing that drop and they will create an offensive by getting contact or something, right? That's not your purpose in that drive. Your purpose is to, again, clear those defenders, open up something behind you. There's no need to kind of body up and do that. So this was a great little scenario, I thought, to kind of create some drills out of. So what I would do normally, let's see if I could get back to the video. There we go. So what I would do normally, if I'm going to create a drill here in this specific scenario, right? We'd start off with passer and then this two spot with a defender maybe in the gap here, maybe on the side. So that kind of creates that opening here, right? So 2 drives down. All right. And then we would start off with just this situation of, okay, 2 strokes in, let's see if we can receive the ball. If not, I'm going to drive all the way through and try to get the ball here, right? No contact with any of these people. We're just trying to draw their attention and bring them down. Okay. So we start there. That's option 1 is the driver, right? Now I'm going to add more complexity. I'm going to add the 1 here and their defender. And so if the defender goes back, well, we have this 1 spot for that cross pass catch and shoot, right? I'm not keen on a full cross pool pass. There's like too many arms here, but just for awareness and vision of the pool, I think it's important that this person knows if we see this person dropping, right, this person isn't open anymore and we're going to look elsewhere. So that's option 2. Option 3 would be adding this person at the 3 spot who is going to slide over. We would cross pass it here and add them in. So when I add the 3 spot though, I'm going to only give the option of passing it to here or to pass it to here to the 3. And then if she needs to pass it to the 1, she can do that. I hope this is not too fast and is making sense. But these are kind of the ways that I would progress kind of this drill, or to teach this type of situation, and to teach the different type of vision that you'd want to see in the pool. Let's see if I could go back here. So again, this is just kind of a visual of showing how the movement goes. But let's move forward. Really playing a lot. Okay. So next reason why I would want to have a drive is to post up. So let's see an example here. Okay, so in this situation, right, we are moving the ball towards where center is facing. Okay, and similar to the last situation, we have a drop. Okay, we don't have a drop here. This person is pressed. So really this drive is going to end up being kind of a post up on this side. Right? Again, we don't have anything here. We need something to happen on this side of the pool to create a different opportunity. So we cross stroke over, get down here and hold position. And so she can be an option on the side. Luckily, you know, that person ended up being an option there, but I thought she did a great job of posting up there. So again, what kind of skills do we want to teach before we get into this situation? Making contact, right? That defender was pressed. We want to kind of come into the body, make a cross stroke, come down and hold that side, right? We want to make sure that we are an option for the opposite side. And then finally, kind of spinning open, you know, turning around your face and your shoulders facing to where you want the ball to come in. And so do's for this, right? Create an option at the opposite side of the pool. You want to be able to receive the ball and set, and that will, you know, allow an entry and allow a shot from a closer position, right? Don't, you know, overcrowd the center. If the center is in there and she's on one post, you're going to the opposite post. Make sure you're not getting too close because we don't want one defender to kind of cover both of you. So again, if I'm going to create a drill out of this, right, I'd start with just the two. We drive in, post up on that person. We look to enter. Okay, so you know you're the first option, right? Post up is the first option. Next, what can we do? Kind of similar to that video we just watched. I'm going to add this 3 spot who slides over. And then depending on what this X3 does, if they drop, if they're not pressing me, then 3 can be an outside shooter before putting it into center. And then finally, I would probably add in the 1 spot who can also be an option to kind of be a passer or to enter it into this post-up player. Okay, so another reason to drive is to establish a new center. So for whatever reason here, we're coming down and center pulls themselves out, right? So it could be maybe that's not our normal center. Maybe we want the opportunity for more movement. Right here, we do have a lot of droppers. And so she doesn't feel like she's going to do much in there. She might clear out. And in that case, we would need a drive to come through. Right. So here you actually see 2 drives come through. I'm not sure if that was intended or not, but you end up with 2 down here to try and reestablish a center, right? And you end up getting, a shot off out of that. So skills that you want to teach there. You know, same kind of situation as going into post up. The only difference I would say is to make sure you're holding ball side. Sorry, mouse is a little funky, but getting and holding ball side. and again, opening towards the ball. And then finally, I would say, again, if this is a driver that you're having go in and isn't a normal, ordinary center, make sure you teach them how to draw a foul in there and or get the ball out if suddenly there's a drop coming after them. Not traditional things that we teach drivers, so make sure that we are teaching that. So things that we, again, want to make sure we're doing, getting ball side. And then if you are the only center, right, like unlike that last clip that I showed, if you're the one person driving in, you can go ahead and go center of the pool. If you are not the only center, if the center is still there, if you get a double drive in, make sure that you guys go to your appropriate posts and you're not kind of crowding each other. Here is kind of more of those drill situations that I would do. So I would say kind of set this up where maybe it's just the center, the 2 spot, and the 4 spot, right? So we'd have center moving out, 2 would go in, 4 has the ball, and would look into that 2 who is now the new center, right? And that kind of keeps it simple. Then we can add in if there's a drop, maybe we'd add at the 3 spot with a drop who's going to help here. Now we can look to pass it for an outside shot here. We can also add, defense crashes back, ball goes into center, she has to pop it back out. Kind of just working on those skills that we talked about. Okay, so moving on, unbalancing the offense. So this is actually my team, but I couldn't find an isolation play online, and this came up. But we had the one just kind of clear across, and what you see here is creating an isolation. So the purpose of this drive is to, maybe there's a drop here, is to get that drop completely across the other pool and really give the center a whole area of water to work with. So it works from the 1, works from the 5. Really, there's you can drive across from the 4 and pull that 5 up. The main thing is that you want to give them this whole area to have to play with. And so ball moves around. They cleared already. And then again, wide open here. Eventually it gets there. Okay, so eventually it gets there, right? And we have that isolation. Okay. Eventually we get that isolation where it's just the center and the center defender. So things that we want to work on here is swimming through traffic, right? That person who's going to clear across is going to swim possibly around the center defender, possibly around other people who are dropping. And so they need to be able to navigate that, kind of give them bodies to bump up against and not try and fight with, right? Again, pet peeve is getting that turnover when it's unnecessary. You're just trying to get that defender out of the way and open up that area for that center. So the other thing that you can work on there are, doing different types of picks and screens. I won't get too detailed on that because I think that's a whole other, video, but those are kind of the things that you'd want to see your driver doing. Again, dues for the driver is, again, you're making sure you're clearing that defender. And then once you get to the opposite side, you want to make sure that you are not kind of sitting next to another person on offense. You want to make sure that everybody maintains their spacing on the opposite side. And then again, don't tangle up and get that offensive. So to kind of, again, run this through a drill. If I'm the one, I'm going to come across, try and come over, and you can work on getting the ball to that 1 spot as they come over. Again, if they are over here in this crowded area, unlikely to be them, right? That's going to be open. more than likely you're going to get the ball to your center, who is going to be open here. Again, if that's your primary center, really good position to be with no defenders here to harass you. Then, so we talked about unbalancing. We do have to make sure that we rebalance at the end. So I think this clip is going to be familiar. We already kind of talked about it, but let's see. What I want us to watch is this player here. So she's fine right now, right? But once she drives, right, we're going to need to cycle up. So she actually moves all the way up, swims up, and then spins and pivots her hips around to get ready for defense, right? And so that is a big part of driving, is making sure that everybody else is rebalancing and being ready to come back on defense. We do not want to get caught sitting out here and allowing that defender to kind of be in a bad lane for us. Okay, so skills that we need to teach there. Being able to reverse goal. So as you're wrapping up, you want to be able to reverse goal. In that situation I just showed, she had to swim up because she had to move all the way to the top. So if she's swimming up, she's going to then at the top need to pivot her hips so that they're behind her. Things that you want to think about when you're doing this type of drive is to wrap up quickly and get yourself in a position, one, to receive the ball, and two, that puts your head between that defender and the goal, right? So that they don't counter you. Don't let the defender get advantage on that counterattack. And also something else to think about is, if we have that isolation, make sure you're not driving across. You're trying to rebalance the offense, but you get in the way of that isolation that we talked about before. Okay, so sorry, just trying to watch this video. Okay, so in this situation, right, we have the one here. The two drives down and the one wraps up. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for this one to wrap up and give them the ball for possibly a shot. Now maybe we get pressed, they can clear out, and then we can look into the center position, right? Mostly what I would be worried about here, again, I hate a counterattack, but what I would want to look for is to see if we can get the ball here or into set after this drive. And then I would want the X1 to just immediately counter. So it would be more of a counter drill that I would want the one to make sure that they're defending. And then after a few of those, you will kind of teach and you will learn to really make sure you wrap up, be aggressive with that wrap up so that you don't get yourself in a bad spot. Okay, that makes sense. And then just to finish us off here, to talk about general rules in driving, things to consider. If there's a center, you always want to drive towards the feet of the center defender. Or if you want to think about it, opposite to the side that the center is facing, right? You don't want to drive across it. You want to create an option on the opposite side. The other thing is to be aggressive, right? Move with purpose. Aggressive strokes doesn't mean be that kind of aggression, but take fast strokes, right? Look like you're going to be someone that needs to be covered, right? So take those aggressive strokes and draw that defender. Don't be over aggressive, right? We want to prevent those turnovers when there's movement. And then the other thing is to, know your role. Like I said, if you're clearing and you're opening up somebody behind you. Always be an option. You never know. We went through all these scenarios, and each one could have 4 different shooters. So everybody should be ready to catch, shoot, or to move at any time. And then finally, make sure that the offense is balanced. Make sure that we are recovering after somebody else drives. Don't be watching. We want to always kind of balance out at the end there.
How do you decide what you're going to run? Is it predetermined? Is it
Yeah. So, again, going back to kind of like the general rules, I go based off what's happening at center. So if we have center facing one side, well, then I want 1-2 side to drive, right? If they're facing 4-5. So whatever is going on opposite of set, that's what I'll usually do. If you want to do special plays, that gets a little tricky, I think, but you can always again, in practice is where all this kind of comes together, and you can say, all right, if you're in this situation, we're going to run this, that sort of thing.
so do you kind of expect your team to evaluate the situation as a whole and everyone be on the same page, or is there somebody that you kind of like you're calling the shots?
Sure. Yeah. I think it depends on the team. So, and who your players are. So if I have someone who's really good at posting up, I'm going to say, all right, if she's at the 2 spot, I want her to run these post ups. If she's at the 1 spot, we're going to run, maybe a clear, so that she gets to the other side, and might be an option there. So I think you kind of have to play with that, what your strengths are and that sort of thing. And then what I'll do is usually if we're running like a drive or a pick right off of a goal line play, that's a good time to kind of get together and talk and say, hey, I want this person to drive. Well, then I have one person who will say, all right, you're going to drive. So if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.